The new Best Actress and a top pop idol have officially announced they're together. I froze when I saw the trending topic. It showed a photo of a couple. The actress, smiling like a flower, was the woman I had loved for 8 years. We had been talking about marriage, but a car accident caused us both to lose our memories. I later remembered, but she didn't. The last time I went to see Victoria Graham, she still couldn't remember me. When she finally remembered everything, the first thing she did was announce her permanent retirement from show business. Chapter 1. Sincere Harrison, the entertainment world is exploding. The new Best Actress and a top pop idol have officially announced they're together. They announced it at 11:07 a.m., which is the guy's birthday. I immediately stopped typing and glanced at my colleague's phone. Breaking: Victoria Graham and Daniel Morgan are official. The accompanying photo was intimate. Victoria was leaning on the man's shoulder, smiling gently, her teeth showing. I stared, lost in a daze, at the familiar face in the photo. Hot tears welled up. A jar full of bitterness burst in my heart, spreading to every corner, then surging fiercely into my nose and eyes. "I'm going to the restroom." I hurried away, afraid someone would notice the wailing and howling in my heart, the utter despair. Emotions crashed over me like tidal waves. I understood. Victoria no longer loved me at all, but why did she have to find someone who shared my birthday? Chapter 2. Victoria's agent, Susan Albright, called me. After many years, has broken $6 billion at the box office. Jacques Chou is throwing a celebration party. Why don't you come see her one last time? After this, just let it go. Jacques Chou isn't someone who dates casually. She's serious this time. They're even planning to get married. So, after this dinner, let's turn the page. Anyway, she's lost her memory. You can't keep loving her. I agreed. That night, I had a nightmare. I dreamt my mother, Agnes Harrison, was clutching a glass bottle and beating me half to death, because I was the child of her and a rapist. She never liked me, only her child with my stepfather, Robert Miller. I cowered in a corner, in agony. Victoria saved me. We escaped. Don't be afraid, I'll protect you later. I took her hand and told her, Shaoxu, from now on, I'll protect you. For a lifetime. I gazed at the lovely, beautiful Shaoxu, my heart warm. But soon her face was covered in thick blood, obscuring her features. I woke with a start. It had been 3 years since that unforgettable car accident. Chapter 3. I arrived at the celebration party, at Victoria's new home, at 6 in the evening. Few people had arrived yet. I didn't see Victoria, so I wandered around admiring the place and ended up in the backyard. Suddenly a fat man lunged at me. It was that director, Harvey the Letcher Price, notorious in the industry for being a predator. Illness had already ravaged my body. I was violently knocked to the ground. The heavy stench of alcohol hung in the air. There was a huge difference in our sizes. His weight on me made it impossible to breathe. Get off, I pushed him. The man's face was flush red, his expression lewd, and his hand started groping me. Fuck you. A large hand covered my mouth and nose. Dizziness quickly overwhelmed me. When I woke up, I felt immense pressure on my chest, as if my bones were about to be crushed. The next moment, I slowly opened my eyes and saw a cheek pressed close to mine, incredibly familiar. My lips were covered by a warm sensation. Awake? A cool, gentle voice sounded by my ear. I blinked. It was Victoria. She gently helped me to a bench and sat me down. I couldn't believe it. I inadvertently glanced and saw her bodyguard's right fist was bruised a deep red. Looking at the fat man lying on the ground, I instantly understood what had happened. My eyes stung instantly. I desperately wanted to tell Xiaoxu how much I missed her. Victoria, come over and greet the guests, a man's voice called. Victoria hid her hand, probably afraid he would see it and worry. She turned her head to me. I've called the family doctor. I'm so sorry about what happened today. That man was brought by a friend of the cinematographer for after many years. As she spoke, I secretly, closely let my gaze trace her face. This face unseen for 3 years, yet etched into my heart, while silently screaming to her the deafening words in my heart, Victoria, I really miss you so much. "Excuse me, my fiancé, Daniel Morgan, is calling me. I need to go over there." Her slender figure disappeared around the corner. When she said Daniel Morgan, the corners of her mouth lifted, her eyes crinkled, and she looked genuinely happy. It was an old habit of hers. She used to smile like that when she mentioned me. Chapter 4. After the doctor confirmed I was fine, I immediately returned to the living room of the villa. "Sincere Harrison, come, sit at this table." The director greeted me warmly. My gaze passed over the director's shoulder and went straight to Victoria. It felt as if my soul had flown out of my body. She had changed her clothes and was wearing shorts. I couldn't help but look at her prosthetic right leg, and the memory from 3 years ago cut through my heart like a knife. I would never forget her pain on the day her leg was amputated. "Everyone, please take your seats. The main table was lively. Many people came to offer toasts, either to the director or to Victoria and Daniel Morgan. "Victoria can't drink, so I'll drink for her," Daniel Morgan announced. Jacques smiled again, her eyes full of little stars as she looked at Daniel Morgan, each one filled with adoration. I quietly lowered my head, picked up a can of beer and poured it into my mouth. It was bitter. It hurt. Howard Sutton, the producer next to me, touched my arm and shook his head. I looked at him. "It's fine. It's rare for everyone to be so happy today. I'll just have a few cans to liven things up." Howard frowned. "Ace, our investor and screenwriter, can you really drink?" I nodded and drank several more cans. Drinking would burn my already ravaged liver, but the pain was not even a 10,000th of the pain in my heart. Chapter 5. I watched Victoria out of the corner of my eye, but she never glanced at me. Her eyes were full of her fiancé. She served him food, got him fruit, peeled shrimp for him. She used to be this good to me. "Showbiz Queen Graham is such a good woman, so gentle," someone exclaimed. Victoria smiled shyly, leaned on Daniel Morgan's shoulder, nuzzling him like a kitten, acting cute. Daniel Morgan lowered his head and kissed her. I clenched my fists and quickly looked down, afraid the pain in my heart would spill out visibly. The main table erupted instantly. Kiss again, kiss again. Sorrow was like a flood bursting through a dam. My head sank lower and lower. My fists clenched tighter and tighter. What followed were waves of applause and jeers. "Wow, Daniel Morgan is a great kisser. Kiss again, kiss again." I listened, trembling all over, as if daggers were stabbing me relentlessly. Chapter 6. Late at night, the clinking of glasses continued. My mind, caught off guard, began to reminisce. When we first entered the industry, Jacques and I were nobodies. To help her get roles she liked, I attended countless drinking parties. Back then, I gave my all for Jacques, eventually drinking until I had a gastric hemorrhage and a perforated stomach, landing me in the emergency room. The doctor told me I couldn't touch alcohol anymore, but I didn't listen, because for Victoria, I could do anything, possible or impossible, because she was Victoria, the light that pulled me out of the dark mud. I wanted to give Victoria the best of everything in the world, even if it meant plucking the sun and stars for her. Later, I worked hard, shuttling between various film crews, writing scripts and doing behind-the-scenes work. After 5 years of arduous persistence, I finally became an investor. I turned my own script into a movie and made Jacques my leading lady. The movie, after many years, was a huge success. Jacques used her earnings to buy a villa, while I gave most of my money to my parents, and with the last small portion, I bought a burial plot. I looked vaguely at what was in front of me. The one who could shield Jacques from drinks could no longer be me. I downed can after can of strong liquor, using my poor acting skills to attract Victoria's attention. She glanced at me, frowning. Then she guiltily averted her gaze and served Daniel Morgan some food. November 7th is just a few days away. "What does Best Actress Graham plan to give Daniel Morgan?" someone asked. I heard a jarring voice, like an arrow hitting its mark. Victoria gave me her most precious Best Actress trophy, Daniel Morgan boasted. Everyone was envious, and Daniel Morgan, this popular young heartthrob, was stealing all the limelight. I was so jealous. Copying others, I drank to add to the celebratory mood. But 10 years ago, Victoria had pointed to the sky and sworn that if she ever won an award, she would share the honor of the heavy trophy with me. Just then, someone spoke up. "It's all thanks to Sincere Harrison for writing such a great script." I instantly panicked. Without Sincere Harrison, I wouldn't be where I am today. "I'd like to toast you," Victoria said, staring at me. I looked at her, my eyes moist. She raised her glass and nudged Daniel Morgan beside her with her elbow, signaling him. "Daniel Morgan toasted me too." I nodded, the strong liquor burning my throat. "May you be loving and sweet and grow old together in a daze." I remembered the days I spent with Shaksu, sleeping on the streets near the studio. Because we were extras, when night fell, Shiaksu and I could only sleep wherever we were. I'd take off all my outer clothes to use as a mattress and blanket, holding her as we slept. Back then, two ambitious young people, far from home, chasing their dreams, solemnly promised to be together forever and never part. Victoria had also said that when she became famous, she would definitely buy the biggest and best villa for us to share as our home. She had achieved it now. Only the person by her side wasn't me. Chapter 7. "Let me toast you again," Victoria pulled me out of my memories. Her tone and gaze were utterly unfamiliar. The unfamiliarity was like blocks of ice, stuffed one by one into my organs, freezing me, 100 times colder than sleeping on the streets near the studio in winter. "Daniel Morgan has a sensitive stomach. He gets rashes if he drinks too much. He can't drink anymore." "I'll drink this second one for him," Victoria said. She drained her glass. So did I. Suddenly I wondered if Victoria had misremembered. I was the one with stomach problems. I was the one who couldn't hold my liquor, and I was the one who got rashes from drinking too much. All the ways she used to love me were now being used to care for Daniel. I suppressed my pain and forced a smile. Daniel Morgan also seemed to realize something was wrong, but he didn't say anything, just stared blankly at me. His eyes were full of hostility and rejection. "Everyone, listen up, I have some good news to announce. Victoria and I have set a wedding date. It's set for November 7th, my birthday." He pulled Shaksu into his arms and looked at me smugly. Chapter 8. The atmosphere exploded. Daniel Morgan shushed them lightly. "I'm only telling you all because you're my closest friends. Don't let this get to the paparazzi." As he finished speaking, everyone congratulated them. Only I looked at Shaksu with a sense of desolation. Shaksu wasn't a high-profile person. When she was with me, we had both decided to keep our relationship hidden. She downed glass after glass of alcohol. "Stop drinking," I said involuntarily. Unexpectedly, people started to sensationalize it. "Wow, Sincere Harrison seems to really care about Victoria Graham. Weren't you two quite close during the filming of After Many Years? Did you two have a little something going on? Tell us the truth. 8 years, already discussing marriage, does that count as a little something?" Chapter 9. My heart beat faster and faster. I didn't know how to deal with this hot potato. My raised gaze met Xiaoxu's eyes, which were fixed on me. "Sincere Harrison. Sincere Harrison." She suddenly screamed. Things were heading in the direction I least wanted. Victoria clutched her head in pain with both hands, like a scene from a movie where someone with amnesia starts to remember. "Victoria, don't remember those painful memories. I couldn't bear for this woman, whom I cherished more than anything, to suffer the pain of losing her parents again. We've always just been colleagues." I clenched my fists and looked anxiously at Daniel Morgan. He, being smart, received the signal. "Stop spreading rumors. You guys will say anything. That's enough." I was nervous and heartbroken. Victoria took a slight breath, and my taut nerves finally relaxed a little. The alcohol burned my stomach. Being hurt by sharp words, it didn't matter to me. But when I saw Victoria, her head splitting with pain, slumped over the table, every nerve in my body ached. The person I loved most, my salvation, she was sad and suffering. It felt like 1,000 arrows pierced my heart. Chapter 10. The conversation shifted to gossip about another female celebrity. While they were talking animatedly, a hand landed on my shoulder. Surprised, I looked up along the arm. "Want to step out and talk for a bit? I'd like to chat with you." It was him. Chapter 11. The person I saw was Howard Sutton. Outside the villa, it was just the two of us. "Why don't you head back first?" "Brother, honestly, I feel for you. You're really too thin now. I was wearing a loose sweatshirt and cotton pants today precisely because I didn't want anyone to notice. Am I very ugly? What nonsense are you talking about? Sigh, how did you get sick?" I thought for a moment and decided to tell him, "It's hereditary. From my mother, Agnes, liver cancer. My stepfather, Robert, is at the hospital with her while she undergoes chemotherapy. The last time I went to see her, all her hair had fallen out, and she was painfully thin, just skin and bones. I couldn't bring myself to go again." Howard angrily interrupted me. "Back then, your mother caused a huge scene at the company, grabbing your neck in front of everyone, demanding money. Her character is utterly vile. It's perfectly understandable that you don't visit her." I didn't say anything. Howard continued, sincere. "What exactly happened after the movie wrapped? Why is Victoria missing a leg? How have you managed these past 3 years?" Chapter 12. I told Howard everything, detail by detail. The movie wrapped in February. On New Year's Eve, Victoria's family and I were driving to a restaurant we'd booked for dinner. At an intersection, a truck suddenly crashed into us. The world turned upside down. When I opened my eyes again, I was in the intensive care unit. Victoria's parents would never wake up again. Victoria and I both suffered severe concussions and lost our memories. Later, only I remembered everything. But I was diagnosed with hereditary liver cancer. I had prepared a box of mementos from our relationship. I threw them all away. Later, when Victoria learned her parents had died and her leg had been amputated, she cried her heart out in the hospital room. I didn't dare go comfort her. I could only hide a wall away and cry with her. I was afraid she would suffer the pain of losing loved ones again. Chapter 13. And in the 3 years since I lost Victoria, I haven't been doing well at all. My mother, Agnes, had liver cancer. The day I went to see her, she immediately drew up a will leaving the house, car, and all her assets to my younger brother, David. She was terrified I would fight her beloved son for them. I explained to my mother, "Don't worry, I won't fight David for them. I know those things never belonged to me." Lying in her hospital bed, my mother became agitated. Even with a breathing tube in her nose, she cursed me. "You're the most selfish and ugly one, just like your disgusting rapist father. I was cursed with bad luck. The day I gave birth to you, the biggest regret of my life is giving birth to you. If it weren't for you, how happy our family of 3 would be. If we hadn't had to raise you, our family would have prospered long ago." The lawyer handling the will couldn't stand it anymore and spoke up for me. But my mother grew even more furious. "If I weren't immobile right now, I'd definitely strangle you, beat you to death if I couldn't kill you. Did drag you to change your name. Don't you dare use the Harrison name. You've disgraced all the Harrison ancestors." With every word she spoke, I took a step back. An unbearable sorrow welled up. "Why don't you just die, Sincere Harrison?" My endurance snapped. "Mom, listen carefully. Your cancer gene flows in my veins. I'll be dead soon enough so you don't have to worry about me taking a single penny from your precious son. You've doted on David all his life. Fine, then let me tell you, maybe David will also die soon." My mother's heart rate soared with anger. The lawyer escorted me out. I slumped against the wall, squatted down, and sobbed with my head in my hands. I cried until my nerves were taut and aching. Ever since I was little, I could never understand why my mother didn't love me, yet still gave birth to me. Chapter 14. My mother, Agnes, had beaten me since I can remember, breaking my ribs 3 times. Each time, my stepfather, Robert, would rush me to the emergency room, and the next day, because money was spent, he would get beaten by her. The old rib injuries caused me to have cramps from the pain every day when I sat typing. My mother came to my workplace and caused a scene, grabbing my neck, kicking and hitting me in public, demanding money, cursing me for being heartless, and even went to court to sue me. My mother never had a New Year's reunion dinner with me. She would get blind drunk the day before New Year's Eve, and the next day, in a drunken rage, she would beat me. My mother only ever took my younger brother, David, to amusement parks and movie theaters. She never contacted me on her own initiative. But after I started working, she practically hounded me daily for David's tuition, living expenses, and money for his future wedding. She also came to me for the down payment on David's house. At that time, I was so poor I couldn't even afford a 2 takeout meal. I spent my days looking for group discount coupons. I couldn't take it anymore and called my stepfather, Robert, crying, "You're his older brother. You should take care of your younger brother. You shouldn't be so heartless, earning money and not thinking about your family." After that, I stopped calling home. I never went home again. Every time I was emotionally broken by my family, Victoria would hold me and comfort me. She shone on me like the sun, pulling me out of a dark hell, showing me through her actions. Even if the whole world didn't love me, even if they despised my existence, she would love me unconditionally. But now, the Jiaxu who loved me was gone too. Chapter 15. My mother, Agnes, gave me nothing but life, and now she's lying in the hospital, dying. Yet she still wants to drag me down with her, like an inescapable demon wanting to snatch away the very life she begrudgingly gave me. And Victoria, the only one who ever loved me, doesn't love me anymore. I broke down while talking to Howard. He kindly patted my shoulder. "How much longer do you have?" I hesitated for a moment. The doctor said, "Half a year to a year. It's uncertain. Do you have any last wishes? I'll do my best to help you." I looked towards the main table. "If possible, please help me look after Victoria. She's a very good actress, completely devoted to her craft. Please look after her for me." Howard nodded. "I'll do my best to look out for her. Any other wishes?" I thought for a moment. "After I die, if you have time, could you tend to my grave? No one in this world cares about me. I'm afraid my grave will be overgrown with weeds and covered in fallen leaves." Howard promised me. "Thanks, brother." I felt much more at ease. Suddenly, footsteps approached. "Why are you asking Howard to help me?" Chapter 16. I was stunned. My gaze fell on Jiaxu. My heartstrings tightened abruptly. "Did we know each other before?" My heartbeat skipped a beat. In my heart, I wanted the Jiaxu in front of me to hug me. Just like before, every time she hugged me, I felt like all the immense grievances and gloom would dissipate from over my head. "Victoria, could you hug the broken, sincere Harrison?" I couldn't say it. Tears paced wildly in my eyes. "Because you're the actress I admire most ultimately," reason triumphed over emotion. Jiaxu stared at me, puzzled and with a hint of pity. "Send me the address of your burial plot. I'll help tend to your grave in the future, too." Heaven must have thought I'd suffered too much and gave me a sweet consolation. Jiaxu, who had soothed my inner pain countless times, once again comforted me in a different way.
"This should be the last time, right?"
"Thank you so much." Jiaxu waved at me. "It's nothing. You look out for me so much. It would be wonderful if you could grace my wedding with your presence." "I'm not quick with calculations. I counted in my head for a long time." "Is it past?" "It's past. It's really past. Jiaxu, I probably won't live to see that day." But her deep dark eyes sparkled with light. I couldn't refuse my beloved son. "Okay, can I really make it?" Chapter 17. I went to work every day, not because I liked working, but if I didn't go to the company, I would just hide in my room, crying from dawn till dusk, not cooking, not ordering takeout, only lamenting how bitter life was. No one in this world loved me anymore. Painkillers couldn't stop the heartache. When idle, my mind would wander. It was better to write more final scripts. Maybe they would become quality screenplays in the future and be seen by Jiaxu. After all, the heroines I wrote were always the gentle, beautiful, strong, yet humble, radiant Victoria. But by August, I was often drowsy. I had to resign. My mother, Agnes, died. I lay on the same white bed she had died in, continuing the chemotherapy she had undergone. My stepfather, Robert, took care of me like he had taken care of my mother. One day he held my hand. "Sincere, your brother David's child has been born." I have to go take care of the baby. Why don't you hire a caregiver? It's not expensive, only about $400 a month. A bucket of ice water was poured over me. My mother and stepfather had only ever loved David. I don't want a caregiver. I turned my back to him. Can't David hire a nanny for the child? Dad, I'm dying. I'm dying. Can't you spare some love for me? He gave an embarrassed laugh. I'll call your brother and ask. When he returned, he asked if I could transfer him about $1,400. I refused. My stepfather covered his face and cried. It's not that I don't love you. It's just that there's not much I can do. I've tried my best not to be biased. David grew up by my side, but you left when you were in middle school, never came back for holidays, and always dragged your feet when I asked you for living expenses. Every time I call David, he comes home immediately to see me, takes me out to eat, and gives me money, I retorted. I didn't come home for holidays because I had to work. I was slow to transfer money because I had no money. David is always available and filial because you gave him a house and a car. I didn't come home because I had to work overtime to buy David a house and a car. I'm like a hedgehog that plucked out all its quills, just wanting you to hug me. But what did you do? You pushed away the smooth hedgehog, said he was no good, and cursed him as unworthy. My stepfather fled in disarray. I was so agitated I couldn't breathe. I reached out to press the emergency call button, but I was completely devoid of strength. Chapter 18. I made it to November 7th. To stay alive, I took a lot of Western medicine and also a lot of traditional remedies. My attending physician, Dr. Alan West, became my most frequently contacted chat buddy. Today, I put on a new knit hat and a newly bought shirt and pants. I drank many bottles of energy drinks and also prepared a needle. If I felt drowsy, I'd prick my palm a few times. This method was very effective. How did I know? Because I had tried it for 389 days. I told myself, you must not treat Xiaoxu's wedding lightly. Arriving at the venue, I sat in the VIP section, watched the ceremony, and applauded. Watching the woman I loved most, dressed in a white wedding gown, standing at the end of the red carpet. She was at the front, reciting her wedding vows in a gentle voice. She spoke very well, just as well as when we used to rehearse them. I do, Victoria said to Daniel Morgan. I do, I said to Victoria silently. Then the handsome couple kissed on stage, thunderous applause. I also applauded for Victoria. It would be a lie to say I wasn't jealous, but this budding jealousy was suppressed by a great sense of fulfillment and satisfaction for her. I sincerely hoped Victoria would be happy. Ever since I heard her say she would tend to my grave, I felt unburdened, with no more attachments to this world. The microphone was passed to the groom. Today is my wedding day and also my birthday. Marrying Victoria is the best birthday gift of my life. The microphone was passed to Victoria. I vaguely remember. We once agreed to have the wedding on his birthday, because I didn't want him to not celebrate his birthday, to despise his own birthday. I wanted him to love himself, to discard those thoughts, and be a happy person from then on. Applause broke out. I didn't clap. Every word burned my ears like a fierce flame. My ears felt like they were bleeding. That he was me. Chapter 19. The voice on stage continued. I promised my groom I would buy a big villa and share the glory of all my trophies with him. He doesn't like glass bottles, so I specially chose boxed apple juice. He has a bad back, so I chose a very light suit for him, and the bouquet is light. He can't hold his liquor, so I prepared black tea. He has a sensitive stomach and gets rashes if he drinks too much. Daniel Morgan was visibly flustered. I panicked too. Xiaoxu screamed, clutching her head just like last time I looked at her. Wishing I could bear all her pain, afraid she would see me and remember me, I quickly bent down and tried to escape towards the door. Sincere Harrison, the air froze, my arm was grabbed. Where did you go? Why did you pretend not to know me? I'm marrying another man, why aren't you stopping me? I felt my energy rapidly draining. Damn coffee, energy drinks, and those stimulants were all damn liars. I slowly turned around. Xiaoxu, stop fooling around. Go get married. I made a gesture that only the two of us knew. Xiaoxu saw it. Be good. Xiaoxu took a step forward. She wanted to hug me, her presence so close, but I waved my hand, took a step back, and said softly to her, Go get married. Let me see you happy before I leave, okay? I took so much medicine just to make it to this day. You wouldn't be so cruel, would you? Otherwise, I'll die right here, right now. Xiaoxu's brow furrowed tightly, her face etched with fear and disappointment. Chapter 20. I'm sorry, Xiaoxu, I'm sorry. I woke with a start, blearily opening my eyes, only to realize that attending the wedding was just a dream. I glanced at the digital clock by my hospital bed. November 1st, 10:47 p.m. The patient is awake, the doctors came. They said I had been in a coma for a long time, my pulse was weak, but my will to live was strong. It was a miracle I was still alive. Dr. West, I'm so tired. I struggled to make a sound, my throat like a desert. Dr. West squatted down and helped me drink some water. Sincere Harrison, if it's too hard, it's okay to rest early. It's all right. I gave a bitter smile. I grabbed the needle and pricked my palm, still drowsy. This time I pricked deeper, almost burying the entire needle in my flesh. The doctors looked at me in astonishment. What are you doing? Doctor, I don't want to die. I wanted to see Victoria happy before I closed my eyes for good. The doctor didn't speak, his expression likely turning grave. Chapter 21. The digital clock showed November 7th. I eagerly awaited Howard Sutton's message. He had promised to send me a video. I clutched my phone, barely breathing, completely weak, only able to lie in bed and watch the video. A ding sound. I excitedly forced open my drooping eyelids. But what arrived wasn't a video of a lavish wedding. It was a headline news article. I, Victoria Graham, announce my permanent retirement from show business. Today I lost someone, and I must find him. It was like being hit over the head with a club. My body started reacting strangely. The heart monitor beeped loudly and erratically. I picked up the thin needle from beside my pillow and pricked my palm. A large drop of blood welled up. One prick couldn't suppress the drowsiness. I pricked myself several more times. I looked down at my palm, full of needle pricks, utterly desperate. Xiaoxu. This time it's really goodbye. Chapter 22. I terminated my contract with the entertainment company and drove to the city hospital. The traffic was terrible, so I had to abandon the car and run. I was thinking, he has always been so resilient, he should wait for me. As I ran, I wondered how he had managed during the 3 years I had amnesia. The more I thought, the more my heart ached. When I arrived at the hospital, that silly boy was asleep. No matter how softly I called him, he wouldn't wake up, as if he was sulking with me. I was wrong. I was so wrong. Sincere Harrison, please don't leave Victoria, okay? I pleaded, feeling as insignificant as dust, but he didn't respond. I found his palm full of needle marks. I frantically slapped my own face. Why didn't I remember? Why didn't I remember sooner? Why did I mistake the person I loved most? I personally arranged Sincere's burial. Dr. West gave me a handwritten script. I returned home and opened it. It was filled with his handwriting, crooked and uneven, the ink varying in pressure. I read the script carefully and found that besides the dialogue, there were sentences in the bottom right corner of each page, likely his thoughts while writing. And every sentence screamed with infinite pain. Vomited a lot of blood today. Abdominal pain was excruciating. Painkillers didn't work. Ached all day. Dad Robert came to take care of me. I know he cares about me deep down. He has a sharp tongue but a soft heart. I forgive him. He left after all. Poured half a cup of tea and left because David called him. Turns out he doesn't care about me at all. My whole body aches so much today. Xiaoxu and Daniel Morgan posted travel photos together again. That's great. But I cried all night, my body aching like it was about to shatter. I'm not jealous. I just miss her so much. I think I'm dying. Took 39 pricks to wake up. So this is what it feels like when time drags on so slowly. What is Shaksu doing now? May she live a long and healthy life. The caregiver is very harsh, always scolding me, but I can only endure it because no one else will take care of me. I miss Shaksu's cooking. Is she reading scripts, filming, or traveling with Daniel Morgan now? I miss her so much. But she doesn't miss me at all. She's thinking about her fiancé, planning her wedding. Dad Robert asked me for money. I refused. In the afternoon, transferred about $1,400 to my brother's family. It hurts so much, I don't want to live anymore. No, I can't.
Why is life so bitter?
Pain, so much pain. Which organ ruptured? The pain is killing me. Miss Shaksu, her number isn't connecting. Wake, no, strength, left. Victoria, goodbye. Thank you. Every stroke, every character cut me like a sharp knife. Sincere's handwriting grew increasingly illegible, increasingly painful, and I ached along with him. Chapter 23. I invested in a movie and filmed Sincere's script. The movie was released, and he won Best Screenwriter. He made his mark in history. His name will forever be etched in the film industry. I sold the villa and all my assets. I donated the money to a children's welfare foundation, an anti-domestic violence advocacy group, and a liver cancer treatment foundation. I went to the cemetery to tend to the grave of the man I loved most. I placed all my trophies there with him, arranging them neatly, one by one. I miss you so much, I bought back my old phone number. Will you call me, please? It really won't be a disconnected number anymore. I cried until tears streamed down my face. My voice choked with sobs. I told him what I had done this past month. I stared at the small photo on his tombstone, my vision blurred beyond recognition. Why did even you have to leave me? Why, after struggling hard for over 10 years when things were finally looking up, did it have to end like this? I covered my mouth and sobbed until night fell. If I wanted to come find you to catch up, you wouldn't disagree, right? I made the gesture that only the two of us knew. Since you're not saying anything, I'll take that as a yes. After 6 years of a secret relationship, my girlfriend, the CEO, finally agreed to let me meet her parents. But then she stayed out all night. The next day, she sauntered into the office with a hickey on her neck, accompanied by her old flame. They chatted as if no one else existed, completely ignoring me, her actual boyfriend. A colleague whispered, "Isn't that the new guy who just started a few days ago? He's already latched onto the CEO, just another kept pretty boy." Before I could say a word, my girlfriend, Victoria, snapped, "Ethan is a top graduate I personally recruited. If you lack the skills, don't resort to malicious gossip. I won't have anyone speaking ill of him." VP Davis, who knew about our relationship, leaned over and asked curiously, "Who's this guy? Aren't you Miss Vance's official boyfriend?" I gave a sardonic smile, not for much longer. VP Davis froze. Victoria had already walked over to me. "Your performance has been slipping lately," she announced. "Step down for now. Let Ethan take over your projects. You can assist him." The entire office fell silent. I had been by Victoria Vance's side since the company's inception, the cornerstone of our success and its undisputed leader. My performance had always been stellar. Yet now, out of the blue, she was telling me to step aside. And for what? To mentor some greenhorn who'd been here less than a week. I remained silent, my face a cold mask. Victoria's expression soured. "Didn't you hear me?" she demanded, her brow furrowed. A flicker of mockery crossed Ethan Thorne's eyes. He smiled. "Sincere was a co-founder with you after all. He's bound to have some pride. I doubt he's willing to be my subordinate." For a grown man, he was insufferably passive-aggressive. At his words, Victoria scoffed. "Pride? What's he got to be proud of? If it weren't for me, he never would have gotten a foot in the door with his associate's degree. All I'm doing is revoking his special privileges, and he can't handle it? Does he really think he can throw his weight around just because he's been here longer? With those words, Victoria branded me a useless bum, an incompetent coasting on seniority. The truth was, my contributions to the company far exceeded hers. And that associate's degree? That was because of her, too. Both Victoria and I came from rural backgrounds, united by a fierce determination to make it in the city. Her family couldn't afford the steep tuition and living expenses and were pressuring her to marry for a bride price. She had cried in my arms, begging me not to let her drop out, pleading for my help. Because I loved her, I gave her my own tuition money without a second thought, dropping out of college myself. I worked grueling shifts in a cramped, grimy diner just to support her. It wasn't until 2 years ago, after our startup finally took off, that I found the time to enroll in an associate's program with plans to get my bachelor's. But she begged me to put my education on hold, claiming the company couldn't survive without me. So to this day, all I have is an associate's degree. She knew all of this, and now she was using it as a weapon to stab me in the back. I felt the weight of strange glances from all around, disdain, contempt, doubt. I clenched my fists. As I met her cold, hard gaze, the will to argue simply evaporated. The woman frowning at me bore no resemblance to the one who had once loved me. A bitter laugh escaped my lips. I turned, walked to the printer, and printed out a single sheet of paper. My resignation. Since I only have an associate's degree, I'm clearly not qualified to work here. After all, the minimum requirement at our company is a bachelor's. Victoria was stunned, clearly not expecting this, but she quickly masked her surprise. I don't care if this is some strategic retreat or you're just playing hard to get, she sneered. Once you walk out that door, you're not coming back. This company isn't a revolving door. I glanced at her, my face devoid of expression. Understood. As I turned to leave, Ethan whispered something in Victoria's ear. Her face instantly changed, and she spat at me with disgust. So that's your game. No wonder you were so willing to walk. Confused, I watched as she threw a stack of files onto the table. It was the contract I had signed a few days ago. Ethan made a tisk-tisk sound with faux sympathy. Sincere, everyone knows you're close with Mr. Zhang from this partner company. The deal isn't finalized yet. Your sudden departure now. Isn't this just a ploy to hold the company hostage? I know you're not happy about working for a newcomer like me, but this is the CEO's decision. You can't just defy her, can you? Victoria looked mortified, her mind clearly racing with new, imagined betrayals. In the past, I would have frantically tried to explain, to assure her I wasn't trying to pull a power play. But now I just wanted to laugh. She knew perfectly well that I was the one holding the company together, but she would never admit it. She simultaneously suppressed me and exploited me. Before, I tolerated it because I loved her. Now, I just felt like a fool. I had ruined my own future for a woman, lost all my dignity, and couldn't even get the basic recognition of being her boyfriend. The rage that should have been boiling inside me was gone, replaced by a placid calm. I copied all my files from my computer onto a drive and placed it on the desk. Here are all the project details and quotes. You can use this to continue the partnership. I won't say a word to the client. I turned and walked away without another word. I could feel a burning gaze on my back, but I never looked back. The moment I stepped out of the company building, the air itself felt fresher, cleaner. I had barely a moment to relax before Victoria came chasing after me. She grabbed my sleeve, her brow knitted with blame. What's the meaning of this? You walk out after I say a few words? Weren't you the one who said you were happy to step back and let me run the company? I laughed coldly in my mind. I agreed to step into the background. Not to have you cheat on me. Not only did she stay out all night, she showed up with a hickey next to Ethan. Then she had the audacity to make me an assistant to that clueless pretty boy. I might be devoted, but I'm not an idiot. Victoria stomped her foot in frustration. What are you talking about, cheating? You're talking nonsense. There's nothing going on between Ethan and me. Stop being so jealous. Just as I was about to retort, Ethan appeared. He walked up to me with a look of apology. I'm so sorry, sincere. I didn't realize you were quitting out of jealousy, but I was with a client last night, for the company. I got drunk, and Miss Vance was just taking care of me. There's really nothing between us. Please don't misunderstand. As he spoke, he deliberately tilted his head, revealing angry red scratches on his neck. The little punk was provoking me. The old me would have exploded, demanding Victoria promise to never see Ethan again. But after so many years, so many fights, she never changed. I had lost all desire to continue this with her. I said nothing, my face a mask of cold indifference. Victoria took the initiative, grabbing my hand. I know you're just acting out because you're jealous. I'll let it slide this once, chalk it up to you being emotional. Tonight's dinner with a client is crucial. I can't do it without you. Pull yourself together and come with me, okay? Her tone was gentle, a clear attempt to soften me up. All I felt was irony. If it weren't for this dinner, she wouldn't have bothered coming after me at all. My eyes fell on Ethan. He was wearing my shirt. It was the one Victoria had bought me for our 3rd anniversary. I cherished it, rarely ever wearing it. Now it was a wrinkled mess, reeking of smoke and alcohol. So that's where it went after I'd put it out to air dry a few days ago. Victoria had given it to this punk. Seeing the small yellowed cigarette burns on the sleeve, it suddenly hit me. Something I had treasured was being treated so carelessly. It was pathetic and laughable. My expression didn't soften. Victoria sighed. Fine. As long as you come to the dinner tonight, I won't touch your position. Is that what you want? I didn't answer. She continued, as if negotiating with herself. You're just afraid Ethan will step on your toes, aren't you? Fine, I'll satisfy you. I'll give you both the same title. Happy now? If I wasn't worried about upsetting you, Ethan would have been in management from day one. I finally looked up and met her eyes. Promote him if you want. It has nothing to do with me. Victoria's face darkened. What is that supposed to mean? I let out a dry chuckle. I already handed you my resignation. I have no connection to the company anymore. You don't need to tell me any of this. And another thing, we're breaking up. Victoria's eyes widened in disbelief. What did you say? Right in front of her, I blocked her number. Does "we're breaking up" really need an explanation? Victoria gritted her teeth. You dare break up with me? Didn't you say you wanted to meet my parents? What is all this drama about now? I pointed at Ethan and sneered. Oh, you remember the plan to meet my parents? I thought you'd forgotten. How was the booze at the bar? Yesterday was the day Victoria and I had planned for over half a year, the day I was finally going to meet her parents. I had bought expensive gifts, wanting to make the best possible impression, but I sat on my sofa all day, from morning till night, and Victoria never came. Worse, I saw Ethan's smug post on social media, a picture from a bar. Victoria was snuggled in his arms, their poses intimate and shameless. I waited for her to explain, to apologize. She never did. Instead, she cast it all aside and had the gall to ask me to be Ethan's assistant. The woman was heartless. Faced with my sarcasm, Victoria showed no guilt, only rage. She pointed a finger at me. I told you the company hasn't gone public yet. We're only moderately successful. You know my parents favor my brother. We have nothing to show for ourselves. What are we supposed to get married on? But you never try to understand. You just keep pressuring me to meet them, so I went out for a drink to blow off some steam. What's wrong with that? I was so angry I laughed. Nothing's wrong with it. Do whatever you want. It has nothing to do with me anymore. Ethan dropped his previous act and stepped in front of Victoria. You're the one making malicious assumptions. The CEO and I are innocent. A clear conscience fears no accusation. Victoria looked at Ethan with gratitude, then turned back to me, her eyes full of resentment. Throw your tantrum if you want. I've said my piece. With that, she began to cry, her shoulders shaking with contrived sobs. Watching this display, I felt nothing but a faint urge to laugh. Whenever a problem arose between us, Victoria never tried to solve it. She'd win by throwing a fit. If that didn't work, she'd use tears to force me to soften. She was pulling the same trick again. But this time, I was unmoved. I turned and walked away, my expression cold. She screamed my name, absolutely livid. But I only compromise when I love. Without love, she was just a stranger to me. I cleared out everything that reminded me of her and sent a message to my best friend who was overseas. I'm in. Let's do that import-export business. I was about to catch up with him when my phone rang. Hello, is this Mr. Sterling? Your father's medical bills have been overdue for half a month. We've been trying to call you but couldn't get through. We had no choice but to stop his medication a few days ago. Your father passed away that same day. We were wondering when you would be able to come and collect the body. A violent tremor shot through me. What did you say? I asked, unable to believe it. My father was my only family in this world. A car accident years ago had left him in a coma. He was in the ICU, kept alive by a ventilator and various nutrient drips. To keep him with me, my entire salary was directly deposited from the company's finance department into an account for the hospital to draw from. How could the bills be overdue? The person on the other end repeated, "The card you provided to the hospital was frozen half a month ago. We've been trying to contact you, but we couldn't reach you." I was second in command at the company. Finance had no reason to freeze my account. There was only one person who could have done this. I couldn't process the rest of what they were saying. When I came to, my phone was ringing with an unknown number. I answered in a daze. It was Victoria, her voice smug and triumphant. "Did the hospital call you? If you don't come back and apologize, I'll keep your account frozen." A pain so sharp it was unbearable pierced my heart. I trembled as I asked, "You froze my bank account? Who else could it be? Why did you have to fight me on hiring Ethan 2 weeks ago? I'm the one in charge of this company. Don't you ever think you can dictate my decisions. Now get back here immediately. A Mr. Hayes from an overseas firm has specifically requested to see you. If we lose this partnership, I'm holding you responsible." My hands clenched into fists so tight my knuckles turned white. I swore she would pay for this. Numbly, I made my way to the hospital. I arranged for my father's cremation and burial alone. The strong, imposing father of my memory was now just a cold, silent tombstone. I walked back into the company, my face a mask of frost. Victoria, however, thought I was just having a prolonged tantrum. She smiled dismissively. "I knew you'd be back. Don't ever joke about quitting again. Next time I'll have you starting from the mailroom." Ethan shot me a resentful glare and stiffly handed me a file. "This is the proposal for the meeting." A single glance was enough to see several glaring holes in it. He dared to show off this garbage. I didn't even give it a second look and walked straight into the conference room. Victoria and Ethan followed close behind, chattering about negotiation tactics, urging me to secure the best possible terms. I let out a cold laugh and slapped the shareholder separation agreement on the table. Victoria's eyes went cold. She gritted her teeth. "What is the meaning of this? I worked my ass off with you for years to build this company." "It's partly mine," I said calmly. "We were in a relationship, so I never made an issue of it. But we're broken up now. It's time to settle the score." Ethan's eyes darkened. He fanned the flames. "Sincere can't possibly think he can hold the company hostage just because Mr. Hayes is here, can he?" Rage boiled in Victoria's eyes. She slammed her hand on the table. "You never brought this up before now. When you know I need you, you suddenly demand your shares. You think you can blackmail me? I don't care, I can do without this deal." I pushed the agreement towards her. "Whether you give it to me or not isn't up to you. I have enough evidence to win this in court. Signing now will save you a lot of trouble. I had the leverage and the proof." Victoria knew it, but she was stubborn. "Go ahead, sue me. You think I'm afraid of you?" Ethan, riding on her coattails, stood beside her. "Since you have no intention of serving the company, we won't keep you. We can land the deal with Mr. Hayes without you." I smiled. "Do you two even know who Mr. Hayes is?" Victoria rolled her eyes at me. "Cameron Hayes. Turned $2 million into a multi-$100 million empire, made the Forbes list in 2 years. You think I don't know? Just then, the CEO's assistant popped in. "Mr. Hayes is here." Victoria turned and lifted her chin at me. "None of this has anything to do with you anymore. You want the shares? Fine. You want to break up? Fine. Don't you dare come crawling back to me. I'll land this deal without you with that." She snatched a pen, signed the shareholder agreement, and yelled, "Security, get this non-employee out of here." I held up a hand and smiled calmly. "No need. I can see myself out." As I turned, I came face to face with Mr. Hayes, who was walking in, surrounded by his entourage. Victoria and Ethan immediately plastered on smiles and rushed forward. But Cameron Hayes ignored them completely, walked straight to me, and pulled me into a bear hug. "I've missed you, buddy." Victoria froze, her smile strained. "Mr. Hayes, I thought we were here to discuss the partnership?" Ethan was already dumbstruck, never imagining I could be so familiar with the famous Cameron Hayes. Cam paid them no mind, asking me warmly, "Didn't you tell me your girlfriend worked at this company? We've been best friends since we were kids, and you refused to go abroad with me because of her. I had to come see this woman who could keep you from me." I chuckled. "We broke up a while ago." Victoria went rigid. "Mr. Hayes," she asked in disbelief, "you and he are childhood friends?" Cameron Hayes looked at her as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. "Of course. Why would I lie to you about that?" When Victoria and Ethan were mocking me earlier, they hadn't bothered to lower their voices. Cam had clearly heard everything and was now sticking up for me. After weeks of betrayal and pain, my best friend's loyalty was a warmth that spread through my chest. Ethan, unwilling to see me in the spotlight, mustered his courage. "Mr. Hayes, please take a look at the proposal we've drafted. Since you're here, shall we get started?" Victoria also looked at Cameron hopefully. I stood aside, smiling silently. Cameron met my gaze, then smiled back at Ethan. "Sure. Let's see the proposal." Anyone could see the smile didn't reach his eyes. But Ethan thought he was making progress, his expression seeming to say, "See? Your relationship isn't so special after all." He shot me a provocative glance. Mr. Hayes, to be honest, Sincere here was actually fired by our CEO due to his substandard professional abilities. "It might be best if we discuss the partnership without any irrelevant personnel present, don't you think?" Cameron's face hardened. "Substandard professional abilities?" Victoria sensed trouble and tried to stop Ethan, but he was too quick. "Yes, and not only that, he's overambitious. Our CEO was willing to give him another chance, but he looked down on it and insisted on quitting before he could finish." Cameron began to applaud slowly. "Bravo, just bravo. I had no idea a non-public company like yours had such high standards. With Sincere's capabilities, it would be an insult to him to be a general manager at my company. And here you are, calling him incompetent." The smile froze on Ethan's face. Victoria immediately jumped in front of him. "Mr. Hayes, please don't mind him. Ethan is new to the company and unfamiliar with many things. He was just talking nonsense. I'll have him apologize to you later." Cameron let out a cold laugh. "You bring someone unfamiliar with the company to negotiate a partnership with me? That's rather insulting. In that case, I see no need to continue this discussion." Victoria lowered her gaze, forcing a smile. "Of course not. We hold you in the highest regard. We would never be disrespectful." The brain cells that had abandoned Ethan finally returned. He bowed a full 90 degrees to me. "I'm sorry, Sincere. I was talking nonsense just now. I was out of line." Victoria also chimed in with a placating smile. Just moments ago they were arrogantly spouting nonsense at me. Now they were groveling for my forgiveness. The irony was thick. I nodded, accepting his apology, not because I forgave him, but for the sheer humiliation of it. We returned to the conference room. As if to redeem himself, Ethan stopped his snide remarks and began presenting the proposal seriously. He spoke with such grandiosity that he almost sounded convincing. Even Victoria watched him with admiration, clearly pleased. But I glanced at Cameron and saw the faint, cold smile on his lips as he toyed with the ring on his thumb. It was a telltale sign of his impatience. The proposal Victoria and Ethan had slaved over for days was decent, but it was merely competent, lacking any real spark, good enough only to fool an amateur. But Cameron had started from the ground up. He knew everything from the project's entry angles to the cost of every material. To impress Victoria, Ethan had inflated the price of every item, significantly driving up the costs. If I could see it at a glance, there was no way Cameron couldn't. But he said nothing. Not until Ethan got more and more excited, misusing technical terms and mixing up concepts. Cameron could no longer stand it. He tossed the proposal onto the table. If this is your company's idea of sincerity, then I don't think there's any need for a partnership. Victoria shot to her feet. Mr. Hayes, wait, is there a problem? Ethan glared at me with hatred, demanding, Mr. Hayes, did someone say something to you behind our backs? That malicious accusation made Cameron's face turn to ice. Don't blame the world for your own incompetence. You'd be better off spending your time reading a few books to grow a brain. Cameron's words were merciless, borderline humiliating, but Ethan didn't dare say a word. My own eyes were cold. If I wanted to do something to you, I would do it openly. Even with my grudge, I wouldn't ask Cameron to pass on a profitable project. But some people just can't hold on to good fortune, and they love to blame others for their failures. Cameron turned to Victoria. Miss Vance, I hope you're not mistaking fish eyes for pearls. It'll be too late to cry when you're losing money. Ethan still wanted to argue, but Victoria, now annoyed, shot him a glare. That's enough. I thought that would be enough for Victoria to see Ethan for the incompetent poser he was. But he just mumbled some excuse about being nervous and losing his composure for a moment, and she immediately forgave him. One was willing to be fooled, the other was a willing fool. There was nothing more for me to say. I could only wish them a long and miserable future together. I stood by Cameron's side and we walked away with a flourish. They thought they had just lost a deal. They had no idea. This was just the beginning. Perhaps to prove herself, Victoria actually approved Ethan's proposal to hire celebrities and influencers for a major ad campaign, but the company wasn't public yet. It didn't have that kind of capital. The celebrity effect might provide a short-term boost, but it was unsustainable. I, of course, didn't warn them. Instead, at the peak of their product's popularity, I sold off all my shares, getting a massive influx of cash. With that money, Cameron and I started a new company together. When Victoria found out, she called me specifically to mock me. If you were smart, you would have just held on to your shares and collected the dividends. But your vision is too limited. This is as far as you'll ever go. I chuckled. Is that so? She sneered. I bought back every share you sold. I'm still the largest shareholder. You have absolutely no connection to this company anymore. Don't you dare come begging. I looked at the long string of zeros in my bank account. You used all your cash flow to buy back shares. What about the company? There was a pause on the other end. You might want to check the news, I suggested helpfully. She didn't understand, but a few seconds later, a shrill shriek erupted from the phone. Sincere Sterling, how dare you? I hung up and leisurely scrolled through my phone. I'm not one for sneaky tricks. I prefer to be direct, just like now. I had just leaked evidence that Victoria's company's products had been failing quality checks for years, along with proof of tax evasion. The celebrities and influencers who had endorsed them were all terminating their contracts and demanding huge compensation packages. Victoria's company plummeted. The stock that had been soaring dropped over 20 points. If she hadn't bought my shares at an inflated price, she might have had a chance to salvage the situation. But her greed was her downfall. She was out of the game. Now, finally, she was scared. She tried to contact me several times, begging me to stop. But every time I thought of my father's death, the hatred in my heart would swell. I ignored her calls, blocking each new number she used. At the height of the media frenzy, I leaked the story of my 6-year relationship with her. Knock, 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 someone was at my door. Through the peephole, I saw it was Victoria. She was a world away from the glamorous, designer-clad CEO I had last seen. Now, even under a layer of exquisite makeup, her exhaustion was palpable. When I didn't open the door, she raised her hand to knock again. I finally pulled the door open. The moment she saw me, tears of grievance streamed down her face. "Are you satisfied now? You've completely destroyed my company." She tried to throw herself into my arms. I sidestepped her. Victoria looked at me in disbelief. "You went to all this trouble to ruin my company just to prove that I can't live without you. Well, I'm here now. Why are you pretending?" Her astounding confidence almost made me laugh. I looked at her with scorn. "What makes you think I would ever want a woman who cheated on me and stabbed me in the back?" Victoria bit her lip, then yelled in a rage, "I told you it's not what you think between Ethan and me." Nothing happened that night. I let out a dry laugh. Betrayal isn't just physical. Emotional affairs count too. Ever since Ethan returned, she had not only given him special privileges at work, but had also constantly abandoned me for him in our private life. Anniversaries, the time I had a sudden stomach illness, it didn't matter. A single casual word from Ethan, and she would drop everything for him. My love for her had been eroded away by her repeated transgressions. Seeing my cold demeanor, Victoria tentatively tugged at the corner of my shirt. "Why else would you suddenly reveal our relationship if you didn't still love me? You're just trying to play the hero, to force me into marrying you, aren't you?" Her voice grew more certain. "I admit I embarrassed you. I'm willing to make it up to you. Whether it's marriage or hiring you back at the company, I'm willing. If you're really that angry, I can fire Ethan," she declared, as if making a huge concession, her jaw tight and her eyes welling with tears. But she was only willing to fire Ethan because her company was ruined. She wanted to lure me back, to put me back to work as her loyal mule. The moment I agreed and she was back on top, I would be the first person she'd discard. I laughed so hard, tears almost came to my eyes. "Has it ever occurred to you that I revealed our relationship to grind you even further into the dirt?" Victoria froze. "What?" I opened my phone and held it in front of her face. CEO Victoria Vance dumps secret boyfriend of 6 years for new lover. Failure of the pretty boy trending. Ethan Thorne's plagiarized thesis. And academic fraud. Victoria Vance can't tell a pearl from a fisheye. The comment sections were flooded with people calling her fickle, unfaithful, and a terrible judge of character. Victoria trembled with rage. "What do you want? Do you really want to drag us both down into mutual destruction? What did I do wrong? Why are you doing this to me?" she shrieked, as if I were the one who had committed some unforgivable crime. But she was the one who was wrong, not me, I nodded. "What did you do wrong?" "I'll tell you, I grabbed her by the neck and dragged her into the living room. Hanging in the center of the wall was my father's memorial portrait." Her pupils contracted violently. She looked back at me, her voice trembling. "Isn't your dad in the hospital? Why do you have a memorial picture?" I slapped her across the face hard. "Stop playing the innocent. You knew my dad couldn't live without that ventilator. Not only did you stop finance from depositing my salary, you froze my account if I hadn't checked. At the hospital myself, I never would have known you changed the emergency contact number for my father's file. You killed my dad." Seeing my frenzied state, she finally felt fear. She shook her head wildly, denying it. "No, I didn't know. I thought stopping the payments for a little while wouldn't matter. Your dad was just lying in the hospital. I didn't mean to. I never wanted to kill him. If you hadn't been fighting with me back then, I wouldn't have done something like that in a fit of anger. Even now, not a single word of remorse. Just endless excuses. I hated myself for being so blind, for loving this heartless viper for so many years." Tears streamed down my face against my will. Victoria looked at me, terrified. "Sincere, don't be like this. You're scaring me." I clenched my fists. "You're scared now? When my dad was lying in that hospital bed waiting to die, did you ever think about whether he was scared? If it weren't for you, how could the hospital not reach me? I never even got to see him. One last time I dragged Victoria to my car, slammed the accelerator to the floor, and sped all the way to the cemetery. The cold wind whipped around us. Victoria was a mess, her face streaked with tears, sobbing that she knew she was wrong. But I just gripped her hand, saying nothing, until we reached my father's grave. My icy gaze fell upon her. "Do I need to do it for you?" At this point, she finally understood that crying was useless. With a thud, she fell to her knees and began to kowtow heavily, slamming her forehead against the ground. "I'm sorry, I was wrong. I'm sorry, I killed you. I'm sorry, She kept stealing glances at me, but I remained silent. I felt no pity, even as her forehead started to bleed. Even if she died right here, the father who raised me would never come back. I didn't speak, so she didn't dare to get up. Only when she was nearly unconscious from the repeated impacts did I turn and walk away, my face a mask of indifference. Looking up at the gray sky, my heart was a block of ice. I wasn't finished, because I had found out that it was Ethan's idea for Victoria to freeze my bank account. He was also an executioner in my father's death. A poser as overambitious as him was easy to trap. A little setup was all it took. He not only betrayed Victoria but also made off with a large sum of her money and fled the country. Although Victoria's company was bankrupt, a starved camel is still bigger than a horse. He had managed to swindle several million from her. When she was at her lowest, her old flame, her beloved, was of no use. Victoria, furious, reported him to the police and camped out at his family's house every day. But he was prepared, having already taken his entire family abroad. I played the long game. I used a small gambling ring to lure him in, get him hooked, and then, in one fell swoop, I emptied his accounts. Ethan stared at his zero balance, completely stunned. But that wasn't enough. I tipped off the domestic police about Ethan's whereabouts. A fugitive with such a large sum involved, any lead would be pursued. Less than half a month later, Ethan was extradited back to the country. With no money to pay back, prison was his only option. I donated all the money I'd taken from Ethan to an orphanage, a small contribution to society. I was the one who had built Victoria up. Ethan stealing her last bit of money was a fitting way to bring her back to square one. A few years later, her parents, who had always favored their son, were forcing her to marry a coal baron in exchange for a hefty bride price. Cameron asked if I felt sorry for her. I just scoffed. It has nothing to do with me. She had once cried to me, begging for help, saying she didn't want to be married off for money. I helped her, and she betrayed me. It just proved she was a venomous snake you could never tame. How could I possibly feel pity for her again? Just as I said that, Victoria appeared before me. She was wearing the same white dress she wore when we first met, looking haggard and panicked. Save Me, the scene before me overlapped with my memories. I looked at her coldly, feeling like I was stuck with a piece of gum I couldn't scrape off. Tears of regret streamed down her face. I really know I was wrong. I shouldn't have been so close to Ethan. I'm the one who hurt you. I'm willing to spend my whole life atoning for it. You haven't found another girlfriend. I know you can't forget me. Please give me one more chance. I'll treat you right, I swear. As if afraid I wouldn't believe her, she raised her hand to make an oath. But suddenly, a 2-year-old girl ran out and called to me sweetly. Daddy. Victoria stared in disbelief. "This is your daughter?" The little girl made a face at her. "Hey, Grandma, you should stay away from my daddy. My mommy will get jealous." Victoria swayed on her feet, looking like she was about to faint. Before I could speak, a graceful, stunningly beautiful woman wrapped her arm around mine and pouted playfully. "The little one and I have been waiting for you. Weren't we going to dinner? What's taking so long?" Then she looked over at Victoria. Victoria stood there in her worn-out white dress, without a single piece of jewelry. Even her once proud beauty was marred by fine lines. The contrast between the two women was stark. A look of deep insecurity crept over Victoria's face, but she still asked, unwilling to give up, "Is this your wife and child?" Cameron coughed lightly. I turned to Victoria and said yes. At that, Victoria's legs gave out, and she collapsed onto the ground. I turned, picked up the child, and walked into the hotel. Victoria scrambled to her feet and tried to follow, but she was stopped by security. Before she could make a scene, her parents rushed over, cursing her for being a dead loss, a disappointment who didn't know how good she had it, and telling her to hurry home so they could collect the bride price. Inside the private dining room, the little girl had already jumped into Cameron's arms. "Daddy, was I good just now?" Cameron patted her head gently. You and Mommy both did great. You really saved Uncle Sincere's face watching the three of them, so happy and harmonious. I felt a genuine sense of joy for them. Cameron couldn't stand seeing me alone and insisted on setting me up. Worn down by his persistence, I finally agreed. To my surprise, after a few dates, we actually hit it off. Many years later, I was out shopping with my wife and child when I saw a destitute old woman. She was holding a large rack of candied fruit skewers. Shouting $2 a stick, her own child was whining and screaming, demanding the new Globephone 38, yelling that if she was too poor to buy it, she shouldn't have had him. As I passed her, she pretended not to recognize me, but tears streamed uncontrollably down her face. I didn't even see her. My eyes were only on my family. The end.